And the reason I created this particular webinar was because I hear from clients quite often about how we feel about our bodies. And recently, I actually jumped on the scales and was a little bit shocked to see what number it was. In fact, it was the highest weight I've been, and it was the weight I was when I had kids. So, looking at that really motivated me. Oh, at first I was really depressed, but then it motivated me to start thinking about, how I'm actually treating my body and looking after it. And as much as I talk really good internally inside myself most of the time, I think the way that we see ourselves in the mirror can have a huge impact on how we feel. Like my clothes were getting tighter. I'm guessing we've all had that experience. Uh, so, for those that maybe don't know me, my name's Gerlinda STELLA. I'm a personal stylist. I've been working for clients for over 15 years, and what I do is I go through people's wardrobes, I take people shopping, but my real passion is really helping people to feel really good about themselves and confident in the skin they're in. And with today, what we're going to be going through is some techniques on how you can love your body more, how to embrace your shape, and how you can enhance your best bits. And what I'd love to do is just get an indicator from people just in the chat window there on a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 being the absolute best, there's nothing you change about your body, and 1, there's absolutely nothing you like about it. Can you pop a score into that chat window for me? Hopefully, by the end of the session, we might have been able to move up a point or two so we can get higher to 10. My aim is to eventually get to 10. I'm not quite there yet. There's definitely things about myself that I'm working on currently. But what the idea is with when it comes to our body beliefs, I'm going to just share with you my slides so you can have a look here. When it comes to body beliefs, there's things that we think that we either know that come up for us, or there's things that we're told and usually these things happen when we're quite young. So this could be from, in society, in the media, things that we're taught, so from our parents, our friends and our teachers, or things that we were teased about when we were younger, either from siblings or school or at work. And when it comes to, for me, I know that I was very much I loved fashion from a young child, and I was very influenced by the people around me. Is anybody sort of admire a celebrity or anything that they think they just have like the perfect body? If you've got someone that you can think of straight away, pop it down. Like for me, if I was thinking about someone, I would probably say someone like Scarlett Johansson, or even like Wonder Woman or something like that. To me, I think that they've got those really toned, fit bodies. Oh, I only have to look at them. Yes, because when we do look at these things, what we're actually doing is we're making comparisons about our own bodies. Helen Mirren, yeah, she's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful woman. And when we're making these comparisons, what happens is we can start to, I love that people are putting these gorgeous older women. They're really beautiful women to look to. Judi Dench is another one that's very true, Anne. And when we're making these comparisons from ourselves to other people, we actually do one of two things, or our egos love to do one of two things, which is one, make ourselves somehow feel better than the other person by saying, oh, well, I've got, maybe if they've got great legs, well, I've got better boobs or whatever it is. Or we will make ourselves feel worse, like, oh, I'm never going to have a body like that. The next thing over is some of the things that maybe we were told by either, like teachers or parents. I know that when I was younger, my dad, I asked him, I was like, Dad, do you think like I'm big? I was probably about 12. And he said to me, no, sweetheart. I said, no, Dad, honestly, I want you to tell me, do you think like I'm big? And my dad sort of said, you're a little bit chunky. And that really affected me. And I got really upset and I yelled at him, and he was like, you told me to tell you the truth. And now looking back at photos, I don't think I was. I think that maybe my dad was a very slim man, and maybe he thought that that was going to encourage me somehow to maintain my weight, because my mother had a lot of weight issues my whole life. So I think my dad maybe thought he was doing the right thing, but it really stuck with me and created some body image issues. Has anybody ever had like a parent or somebody, maybe from school say something like that? Yeah, Jamil, are you happy to share?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to share. I was just unmuting myself. My mother was always telling me I was a little fatty. I had fat legs. She didn't want me to grow up to be fat like her. I got that constantly.
Wow, there we go. Does anybody else have anything similar to that?
Oh, can I add something to that? Do you mind?
Yeah, please.
Interesting. So in my mind, I have big legs, right? And every time I look at myself in the mirror, I think I've got big legs. So interesting. This morning at training, a woman in the class and my trainer both said how slim my legs were.
Aw.
So it's perception, isn't it?
It is perception. And when we look in the mirror, we're filled with all these thoughts that have come from those messaging. And like you said, some of them we know, and some of them we might not know or even remember.
Yes.
Did anybody else have any to share around that one, around family that may have helped? Um, if you, oh, okay, so you were the opposite and told you were skinny. Okay. Yeah, and that's true too. So some people it might very well be the opposite. Once I was doing a workshop and someone said that that their I think it was a family member had said, "Oh, you've got such narrow shoulders," and that really stuck with them in terms of that it was a negative thing for them. And that's the other thing too. Sometimes things can be said and they can actually be a positive. So and often people think when they're told they're skinny that it can be a good thing, but for the person on the receiving end may take that actually as a bad thing. And I've worked with
Just
clients.
just
Yes, Susan?
one thing I'd like to add is, not me, but my sisters, one thing I've never we were really tall and skinny. Well, I wasn't tall, but we had long, skinny legs. Someone told my sister she looked like a pool cue.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
things people say
that's
are
how
really
skinny she was, and it's something I never forgot.
yes, and it does. It really sticks with you. I know for myself, I was told things like I had big Mick Jagger lips, and I remember going to work one day. My hair's quite naturally curly, and this girl said to me, "Oh, you look like you've stuck your finger in an electrical socket." I didn't wear my hair curly for so long after that. It was really cruel, and I think people say things to either be funny or because I don't even know why they say them, to be honest. But one thing that really got me when I was younger when it came to developing, because as women, our bodies change not only through adolescence and then having kids, and then later in life through menopause, and then the weight loss and weight gain in between. But I had an experience where boys would tease me about my breasts because I developed early. I was about 12, and I had probably already would have been a C cup, and for years I would try to wear high cut tops or crop tops to try and push them down so they wouldn't be so noticeable because I just didn't want the attention. And when I was about 16, I found a breast lump, and I told my mom, and we went to the hospital and they did an emergency to remove it. And we're talking, this is 20 years or so ago now, but when they tested it, thank goodness it wasn't cancerous. But I recognized very quickly, with the help of a sort of a person I was quite close to, he'd said to me, "Do you think it might be because you've been talking badly to your body that you've created this?" And I truly believe that that's how important our bodies are in the way we talk to them, because they respond to the way that we treat them. And if I'm telling my boobs that I don't want them, and then suddenly the thought of them being taken away was like, I don't want any piece of me taken away. And it's quite scary and quite daunting. So this stuff is really important, not only from a self-esteem perspective, but also just from a self-love and looking after ourselves. Did anybody else have any other things they'd like to share? Maybe that somebody has said, oh, so you said narrow shoulders too. Sandra? We can unmute you. I'll unmute you. There you go.
It just made me think of something. Last year I was in the chemist and I was looking for a salt lamp, and in there with the kids and my daughter, I didn't even notice, but behind me was a heap of weight loss products on the shelf. And she turned around to me and she said, "Oh, Mum, I need to get some of this because I'm fat." Now, that was last year, so she was grade 2, so she was 7. And she wanted to be skinny like some of the other girls at school. And I'm like, "Oh, you're not fat." I mean, she's not even, as a kid, a chunky one, but she's, in terms of like some kid, but she's still like, she had a little bit of a pop, but she was in that stage of, they go out and then they go up and then they go out. And I'm just like, what is going on at school that you actually realized what those products were to start with and then felt that you needed them at that age?
Yes, that is really scary. And my kids growing up too, they're the same sort of thing in terms of, oh, am I fat or am I skinny? And they're judging themselves against their peers. And I think that also as parents, we want to be mindful of what we're saying in front of the mirror, or those things like, do I look fat in this? I remember one time I was leaning over, I didn't have a bra on, and my youngest said to me, Mum, you've got long boobs. That's because you suck the life out of them. So it's I totally put it back on, blame straight back to the child. But
Well done.
but they do say things that can be quite helpful. But also, what are they internalizing from that center? And I think that's a really good point. Another thing that I find really special too, for those of us that do have children, or for those, even if you don't have kids, if you've got a pet, like if you think about when you're looking after your animals and your children, and sometimes we do that better than we do ourselves. And when we can really focus on looking after ourselves, then everybody else is better looked after too. Susan, you had something to say there too. What were you going to say?
It's just one memory that I had when I was a child. I was in primary school, would have probably been grade 5 or grade 6, possibly 7. It was school photo day, and I had really, really long blonde hair when I was younger. And on photo day, my dad told me that if I keep wearing my hair back, it would make my ears stick out. He actually got my hair and he put it over my ears like that and put it in a pigtail. And I don't know why I let out hair when I went to school. Have a look at my school photo. I'm as miserable as anything, and I've got the hair right over my ears in my school photo.
Do you still feel like your ears stick out?
No, I don't really care, but it's just something that Dad actually grabbed my hair and he did it, and he put it in a pigtail and said that if you leave that, your ears are going to stick out.
Oh, he meant as if like to train your ears to stay back.
It just did. It just said it doesn't look good. Like if you're not careful, like if you always have your hair back, your ears are going to stick out. Your ears are too big.
Oh.
But I can't. He grabbed my hair and he put it over my ears. And in my school photo, I've got my hair plastered down over my ears.
Oh,
but as a child, I can't believe that I didn't undo it. I left it like that for the photo.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you rebelled after that. There would have been.
Oh yeah.
It would have been something else you rebelled on. It is, and I think people unmeaningly do say these things. I don't think they know the effects that words and the power of words can have on our psyche and how we feel about ourselves. So being mindful of those things, over the one thing that I do is, or in the past that I have done, I've written down all of those things that people have said to me, not only because I do it in workshops, so I could tell you 1,000 things people have said, that I've got horse teeth, that I've got my smile's too big, or that I'm short. I mean, people say the most obvious things. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm short. Like it's everyone can see I'm short. It's just, it is what it is. But because I'm constantly writing these things out, it's a really easy way to let them go, and letting them go, and looking at a lot of everybody who did say they were above sort of a 5 in terms of their body levels. That's great, but there is still room for us to go up in terms of how we're talking to ourselves internally. And when we can release these body beliefs, we can really start to dress for our shape, because that's the next thing that we're going to get into today. Is I want to give you some really practical tips on what you can do depending on your shape. Oh, thank you, Anne. That's really sweet. You make me blush. You're beautiful, Anne. You're such a wonderful, supportive person. You're always showing up to all these things, so thank you. So when it comes to embracing our shape, now I know a few of you have already worked with me, so you do know your shape. The reason I went through that stuff is because I don't want to get hung up around what your actual shape is, in terms of how it makes you feel, because there is no perfect shape. Whatever your shape is the perfect shape, and I want to make that very clear. There is nothing that you have to change about your shape. It doesn't matter about your weight. Your shape actually is just it is what it is, and it just means where we sort of put the fat proportions. The other thing with our shape is we didn't pick it. It was given to us by our DNA through our parents. And if there is something about your body and you do want to change it, you can, go right ahead. I'm all for people feeling really confident. There's a lot of things you can, do now in terms of body modifications and things like that if you think it's going to make a difference. But I personally want to say that I think it's really important that we love where we are to start with, and then we can, make tweaks. Like if you feel like you've got, a bit of a flabby tummy and it's really bothering you, then, sit-ups might be of benefit. But sometimes there's health conditions that people have, and these can interfere with our getting fit. So that's why it's really important if finding that acceptance with your body, because otherwise we end up, if we can't accept where we're at, we end up becoming quite depressed over things that aren't really a big deal, because in the end, we aren't really our body. We're so much more than that. So, but what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go through briefly and explain the different shapes. Now, these are called lots of different things. So this is the first one there is a diamond. So basically a diamond is somebody who holds their weight in their middle. This can be through having kids, or it can just be where you naturally put your weight when you're putting on weight. So you could either have small boobs or big boobs with this, but the idea is that you sort of have a bit of a tummy, and that's maybe what some would consider your problem area. But what you want to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you some things how you can hide your tummy quite easily. The next one over is a rectangle. So this is somebody who has the same size boob and bum, and also their waist is sort of very straight up and down through the middle. So there's not sort of a defined waist there. There might be a little waist, but when you look straight on in the mirror, quite similar. So kind of like that athletic body. Another word for this one is like the ruler. I think there's a million different names for these. It is about it. Don't mind me. So that's your bust. That's where you've got a big bust and little hips. So, and then the last one over is the triangle. So that's bigger hips and a smaller bust. Usually people that fit into the triangle shape have really little tiny waists. If you know what your shape is, or if you think you know what your shape is, you can pop it in the comments. A really easy way to discover your shape is to stand in front of a mirror naked. If being naked is a bit too scary, you can do bright undies. And if that's still too scary, you can do it in your gym gear. And once you've got your once you know your shape, it makes such a difference to your clothing, because you can choose things based on the silhouette. Like you don't have to try as many clothes on, because you start to get to know what really works for you. And so when it comes to your shape, what we want to do is we want to enhance your best fits. Now, there's 3 points of attention that you can draw your eyes to. So that's the neckline, the waist, and also the length. So what I've got behind me is my mannequin. But first, I just want to get an indication of, oh yeah, we've got some people. So they've said, yep, Jamil's rectangle. Julie, I think that's Julie. Wait, rectangle, triangle, rectangle. Oh, I've got quite a few rectangles. So that's good, because the mannequin behind me happens to be a rectangle. Sandra, either a diamond or a rectangle. And we could be a little bit of a mix of both as well. So that's why there's a lot of other things that come into body shape when I am styling someone. So things like, if they've got broad shoulders, or if they've got more narrow shoulders, things like how big their bust is. So if you've got quite a large bust, we talk about what, necklines and things like that. Sometimes with bust, it's better actually to have a little bit more showing than nothing if you do have a big boobs. And then, okay, we've got diamond, rectangle. Oh, okay. A lot of people think that there might be a rectangle. So this is my lovely mannequin. Now, what I've done here is one of the slimming effects that I use when styling people is actually wearing a monochromatic color. So this is where everything is the one color, and this is the slimmest you can be. Some people choose to go with black, but you could also do navy if you're going for like those darker colors, because dark recedes and light attracts. So you could do navy, you could do dark charcoal, dark chocolate when it's in fashion. And the idea is that it makes your eye sort of drawn in, and you can't really tell where any of the bits are, or any rolls or anything like that. The other thing with monochromatic colors is you can actually go the opposite way. So you can wear lighter colors, all light. So it could be all white or all blush. It's just the idea that the top and the bottom are the same. Now, if for those that said that they were a rectangle, the idea is that you want to give the illusion of a waist. And so you can do that by actually either like pulling it in, so you could tie a little knot here. You could add a belt to the waist here, and that's going to show off the little waist point there. You could tuck. Tucking's another great one for rectangle shapes. Now rectangles can play around with the top and the bottom. So the idea, if you're an oval, what you want to, or sorry, the diamond or an oval shape, there's so many different names for these body types. It's that we want to try and disguise this middle bit. So if you happen to be in that diamond, we don't want to highlight the waist with a belt or anything like that. We kind of want soft, flowy things. You can still tuck, but you would have it so it's loose, so it comes over. It's kind of like that little baby pouch that we start to get after kids. So if you are in a diamond, it's about having loose, sort of flowing things over the middle of the waist. For rectangles, again, you want to draw that eye in, and they can do top and bottom different colors. So if you happen to fall in the inverted triangle, so that's the one that you have a big bust and little hips, you would then want to make the bottom half of you appear bigger. So you can see here, if I add the color to the bottom, this is where the eye will fall. So these are called like your center of attention. These are your focal points, where we're putting focal points on the body. So someone's just popped in there. I have a short waist, Susan said, and a bit of a tummy, so I hate wearing belts. Yeah. And the other thing is, it's where you wear your belts too. So if you're wearing your belts a little bit higher, that's gonna you want to wear your belts in the smallest part of your waist. If you do have, I have a little tummy, but if you do have a little tummy, you can wear the belt a little bit looser. If you're a rectangle but still have a little bit of tummy, you just wear things a little bit looser, like a wrap style. It's really great for that. Now, if you happen, so this is going to work for inverted triangles. The only difference would be that I would have that neckline a little bit lower for somebody with a bigger bust. But if you are somebody that has a triangle shape, then you could do a brighter color on the top, and that's where the attention's going to go. And then the hips here are going to just be totally slim. Can everybody see the difference between those two? Yep. And the other thing, another slimming effect you can do is actually to wear like a jacket over the top of something. So once you put an outline of something dark over the outside, you start to create this middle part. So I've actually done a similar thing with a lighter jacket. So then I only look as wide as the middle section through here. These are great little techniques. I mean, if for those that are in Cairns or up in North Queensland, I know some people are from Townsville and things like that as well. What you want to do is like choose light fabrics, but layering is a really easy way. In summer, almost impossible up here, but for everywhere else, having a cute little jacket can make a big difference in the silhouette of your clothing. And so yeah, so you can go. So they're kind of the three main slimming. So it's one color all the way through. A light color on the outside and a dark color through the middle, or a dark color on the outside with a light color through the middle. So we're creating these vertical lines. The other thing when it comes to putting things on your body to make sort of the center of attention, so if you have a big bust and you're trying to detract attention from there and you're wanting people to look down at your legs, you would then wear things that are a little bit shorter. You could also do printed shoes. So they're called like an eyes down effect. However, if you've got bigger hips, and I prefer actually getting people to look up at my eyes most of the time anyway, you can do things like adding earrings, and these sorts of things will draw the attention upwards and away from your face. This also has the effect of making you look taller as well. So there's so many tips that go into this, but I'm happy to answer anybody's particular questions about their shape, because I'm sure if you've got one, it might help some of the other people in the group as well. So things like if you've got broad shoulders, I highly recommend wearing sort of those razor necks and showing them off. So does anybody have something maybe that they think about their body that they find it difficult to shop for? Oh, yes, Nat?
Hey, Gerlinda. We've been shopping before, so you kind of know my problems. And well, what to highlight, what not to focus on. As you know, my bust is my issue, my height is my issue, and my midsection is an issue. So, but you've always managed to work your magic and make me look taller, slimmer, and less booby. So, thank you for that. Recently, put on a bit more weight, So that is my main concern. And I love your idea of doing the jackets and everything. But do you think I'm an inverted triangle, or?
Yeah, so I think your shape, and from memory as well, I think you were an hourglass / inverted triangle. So I think now you're probably more actually hourglass, because I hope you don't mind me mentioning
No.
about your boobs. So Natalie had like beautiful big boobs, but they were quite big, and created some back and neck headaches and tension. So Nat had a reduction. And so these things, if you had breast implants or if you have a breast reduction, it can actually completely change the shape, clearly, because you're going to remove or you're going to add something to it. So when Nat had the reduction, so she was a little bit more inverted triangle, and so now she's a little bit more hourglass in her shape. And so it doesn't matter that you put on weight, you would still remain that hourglass, which means we would still follow the same rules about, so for people in that hourglass shape, it's really about the same as a rectangle. So we want to highlight your waist still, even if there's a little bit more weight there. And that could be, again, like through tucking, but it would be, we would, leave a bit of looseness there so it wasn't so figure hugging.
Yeah. Thank you.
Pleasure. And still V-necks, still like nice scoops for your bust, things like that as well. Yeah. And I bet you've got killer legs as well. So you've just got it all happening now. Does anybody else have any things that they would like to share about their bodies? Narrow shoulders, difficult to downplay thighs. Does your mic work, Joy? Are you happy if I unmute you?
Yes, I'm hiding because I've had visitors and they've just left, and I'm not looking great. And honestly, it's better if I hide. Yeah, I've always, of course, always had narrow shoulders, but so getting that slim line is more difficult to hide anything that happens below that. So to wear anything that's fitting, it just shows the thighs. And of course, my daughter says, "Mum, just love your thighs, just embrace them." But I just wondered if there was anything you could add to those kind words.
Yeah, so with and so tell me a little bit about your thighs. Do you have like the little dip, like saddlebags, or do you just feel like they're big?
I just feel like when I saw those little blocks, love those little blocks that you showed. They really do, compared to the rest of me, because there isn't a lot of the rest of me, but hey, there's thighs. And there they are. Bam. So yeah, I just wondered if there was a little trick for making making less of that. I know I can't do shoulder pads. The 80s were great. There was shoulder pads.
Oh, that's why jackets are fabulous. These have got shoulder pads. I love it. Yeah, Joy, that's a really, really good question. And because when it comes to fashion, and I guess one of the reasons I asked about celebrities, and I really love the celebrities that people gave, but when we look through, from the 1930s or 1920s even to now, the differences in what's in fashion, we really have covered all of them, especially now at the moment bums are in. So originally in that, the 1920s and 30s, it was that very sort of straight silhouette. They did a lot of dropped waists. And then you kind of moved into the 50s where you had that kind of Marilyn Monroe, really super curvaceous, big boobs and tiny waist and big bum. And then we kind of went into the 70s where we went back to that straight with Twiggy. Some of you would know, some of you might not know Twiggy. So, and then moving into I think even in that, the 90s, it was all about your boobs. Like a lot of people, that's when I think people did start to want to get, breast enhancements and things like that. It was definitely big boobs were in. And then as we're moving now, this time it's sort of that Beyonce bum or the Kim Kardashian bums that are really on trend. So Joy, I really want you to know you're on trend. So that's one good thing. The other thing is when it comes to our shapes, we can either work with them, so we can show off that booty, or we can show off the butt boobs and we can work with the actual shape, or we can actually start to use proportions to change the shape, so we can start to highlight other areas of the body. So if you have quite narrow shoulders, and you, like you were saying, shoulder pads are really great for that, what you can do is you can start to wear things that have little cap sleeves. Off the shoulder is actually perfect for somebody that's got narrow shoulders, because it really makes the eye, or the what I like to think of it like a horizon. It makes the eye go across the top. And wearing for hips, you want to wear like nice dark colors, solids, not necessarily prints. There's lots of bending of the rules though. So if you do have printed skirts or printed pants that you really want to wear, there's little tricks that you can do around it, like wearing a brighter top and things like that. But certainly you can definitely broaden your narrow shoulders. And if you've got a small bust, if you've got that very typical triangle shape, so smaller bust and wider hips, you can actually wear higher cut tops, and that's going to help make your boobs look bigger. Also texture, so wearing texture and pattern on the top's really good as well for making the top area look bigger. But I really appreciate you sharing, Joy. Did that help answer that one?
Yes, thank you. Perfect.
And also, when it comes to these little things with our bodies, what we want to do is we want to start putting gratitude back into them, because you'd be amazed how many people I work with, and just from talking to them through their bodies, you can actually just lose weight feeling good about yourself and your body when we talk nicely to it. So when you think about your thighs, if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, my thighs are big, you're really missing the beauty and the magic that is your thighs. Like when I'm like I said, I've been exercising a lot lately, and when I'm exercising, I'm like, oh, I love you legs, and oh, I love you tummy, because like they're holding all nice and firm, and I love you knees, even if it hurts a little bit, because I still, and I love you feet, and I love you, because I really want to give love back into those areas. They do so much good for us, and it's not about comparing to anybody else. And I know that we've all had stories where I know that I've got a brother-in-law who's lost a leg, and I've got I've had experiences with people where they have had injuries, back injuries and things like that, and can't exercise, or illnesses, and not comparing, but I'm grateful just inside myself. But when I see things like that, it does make me go, wow, who am I to judge my body? And treating myself like I would my daughter, like Sandra was talking about. If I treat myself how I treat my daughter, if I love myself, like I'm constantly telling my kids that they're gorgeous and that they're beautiful, and that there's nothing in the whole world I would change. And so why aren't I talking to me like that? I think that's really important. Yes, our thighs do help us move through this life. They do. And anytime you think of any of those, if any of those negative sort of things creep in, I think a really quick shot of gratitude for that area of your body is a really quick, simple way for us to get past this. I'm sure everybody that's on here today has been at a point where they weren't necessarily happy with their body for whatever reason. And it's really hard, because every day you've got to put on clothes, and every day you've got to get dressed and look in the mirror, at least just to check that, everything's tucked in and you don't have something hanging out where it shouldn't be. But starting with that, speaking more kindly to yourself is a huge step forward in terms of how we feel. And it is just a body. Like I said at the start, it's just a body. This is, I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that we're given these hands and these feet and this mouth and these ears so that we can do the best we can each day in this world. And our bodies are just a vessel to be able to do the greater good. And there's so much stuff going on in the world right now, and I think any little thing that we can do to spread more love and joy is really important. And not get hung up on this stuff. The idea is that we're going to feel good. So if you're picking prints that you love, if you're picking colors that you love, even if you do wear glasses, picking things that just fill you with joy, and don't get hung up on. There's so many technicalities, and I'm more than happy to talk to everybody after, if you want to have a chat about this, because I really think that our bodies are absolutely incredible, amazing things. They breathe on their own. They do so many things that we don't even think about, and then they work for us every day. So, and that's why I love dressing them and making them look pretty, and I love feeding my body beautiful, nutritious food, and exercising, and sometimes treating it to really naughty chocolate. I noticed Jamil was talking about like healthy chocolate. I love that idea. So but does anybody have any questions? Oh, Susan, thank you for sharing. That's really powerful, and how amazing that is. Absolutely amazing that your body got you through that. and that you can, and that you're still so grateful. Oh, there you go, Jamil. Well, that, like, see, I'll get teary because I just get emotional at the best of times. But see how beautiful that you girls can be here, because that's like, cancer is scary, right? And how amazing, like, your bodies do heal. That is so beautiful. Your bodies are so good to you and to all of us. That's really special. That's really cool. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Well, I am absolutely 100% so grateful for everyone joining me today. The next, I'm going to host another one of these in 2 weeks' time. And what I'd love to do in the next one is actually go through some more about, oh, you're amazing, Susan. That's great. Yes. And that will, after going through that, then you realize what's important in life, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not this stuff. Like, there's so much more. It's connection with family. It's it's having and friends, and really being everything else seems so less important when you go through health stuff like that. I know quite a few of you.
I wanted to ask if it was all right for me to invite other women to come along to this.
Yes. Oh, please. Yes. The more the merrier. Yeah.
Quite a number of women that I'm trying to help with their body issues and weight loss and all the things that go along with being beautiful women. And I thought something like this might be another space for them, that they can just hear other women talk about their lives, their bodies, and the way you are just so open, and I'm getting all teary now myself, how you're so open and there's no judgment.
No, and that's a big part of me. I really believe in no judgment, and I had to learn that quite recently, because I think as much as I thought I wasn't judging, I realized I was, and that was a really hard thing to do. Not necessarily judging other people, but judging myself, and that's really the worst person I could.
More than anything else.
Yeah, Jamila, thank you. I really appreciate that, and yeah, you're a gorgeous person, and I'd love to. Yeah, you're more than welcome to share this with your group, and thank you for sharing your your story too, because we all have our own hurts, and we all have our own pain, and not, it doesn't matter necessarily what other people's journey is. Our pain is our pain, and when we can move through that, and we can start, if we're 1% happier, the people around us are naturally 1% happier.
Oh my God, it's a ripple effect. Once you start being happy with yourself, it's like you've thrown this stone into a pond, and everyone around you just becomes happier and more joyous. And then the people around them and the people around them, it just goes on, and it's divine.
It is divine, and definitely we can, and the more we're willing to share with others as well, it's so, and it's really raw, this stuff, does bring up emotion and does bring up tears. And the amount of times I've been in a change room with somebody and we're both bawling our eyes out because, because number one, they're looking freaking amazing, but number two, they didn't know they could, look that good necessarily, or they've had to overcome some of these body challenges as well, to go, hey, actually, I'm pretty amazing, and you all are.
Sometimes I think they just need to feel like they've got someone in their court.
Yes, and that is really important. And oftentimes, I, even myself, I know, trust is a big issue for me, and I've had to overcome a lot of that stuff, like I'm sure many of us have, to not only trust other people, but to really be able to trust ourselves as well.
Every woman's gone through that at some point in their life about trust. Trust is a big thing.
Yeah, especially as women, like you say, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this world. So, oh, thanks, Jamil. I'm so pleased.
Gerlinda, just want to jump in. Bring your tissues Wednesday.
Oh, Nat and I going shopping. I'll bring tissues. You'll be amazing.
A big box.
All right, I'll make sure they're in my bag. We could do that. Actually, that's probably something I should put in my styling kit, just tissues.
You should. I'm looking forward to it. Really am.
Oh, yay.
Yes.
Yay. I'm looking forward to it too. My pleasure. And if anybody's got any questions after, or you want to share this, what I'm doing with other people, I'm more than happy for you to share. And any private questions that you might want to ask me or talk to me about, I'm more than happy to go through with you as well. I really appreciate your time this morning. And much love to you guys. And yeah, I'll be sending out, this session was recorded, so I will send out a recording to you so you can watch it back. And yeah, and if you want to share it with anybody as well, you're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah, fantastic.